Okay, I don't know if my camera's working or not. I've got books and stuff. It doesn't say recording, but I think that means it is recording. I've got books and stuff under here. I don't know what happened. I had a recording failure, and I never know what the hell that means. But it makes the map kind of poochy, so any kind of leaning on there, especially way down there, is causing issues. Maybe I should improve the bookage. You know, here it's actually not too bad, but there are gaps, and there's a gap between the tables here where it looked like a piece was going to fall, or a pile of pieces was going to fall through. And again, you know, my particular choices of putting the edge right where the crease, or the edge of the maps right where the edge of the table was a bad one, but it's too late to fix anything like that. I mean, I almost lost tweezers going down there. The gap is so big. More tape could help, but whatever. Anyway, I don't know whether or not this video is working at all, but there wasn't a lot to say. I've moved to the 1 p.m. turn. And you can see more and more coalition forces falling off the map. So now, this turn, this is the 1 p.m. turn starting off, opens up with a massive cav battle up here. Several charges, I think 4 different charges, wiped out some of the Russian cav, but also largely bounced the French cav away. I did find that I had sent some artillery over there by accident. Oops. They're going to have to turn around and find their way home. You know, you don't... Although I would have never done that as a player, I can also see where a commander might be dragging his artillery behind him with the intention of, like, bombarding the enemy route and trying to protect the artillery with the cav. I don't think that's a wise idea, though. Although it's kind of what I did here, right? Another cav adventure, Kellerman, whose poor unit is pretty blown up, went running towards this. Well, automatically could form square, but I ran by it, threatening another cav. That cav had to disorder. I couldn't hit this gun from the flank. I didn't have, man, I might have had, I don't know if I had enough movement, but the cost of making an attack across the stream is so ugly in terms of the cav gets strength 1, so it's about equivalent to the artillery crew. It just didn't seem worth it. But I did blow past, and now am positioning myself to threaten the withdrawal in an ugly sort of way. So I think there's something kind of interesting going on there. I have nothing I can well, oh shit. No, I couldn't do this. All right, I had to blow my cav because otherwise I have to hit either the artillery or the thing. You know what? Screw it. We'll do this. Because I don't want to blow my cav. And I've got about even odds of taking out some guard artillery there. So if I spook them or whatever, boom, I get it. Like if I get a disorder result against them, I just destroy the artillery, which is a pretty big deal. And then I can keep plowing into the flank of that cav, which is also a pretty cool deal. Couldn't stick with what I was originally intending is that I had a legitimate target. Not only this, but also that. And therefore, I would have had to blow my cav to get out of the situation. Otherwise, I must attack. But since I had 2 legitimate targets, I went for this one. This was too far away. I couldn't skirt around and get the facing change on them. All right, the game is hitting a point where the complexity of everything that happens in a turn, there's just so many different things going on that I can't just kind of summarize at the end of an entire half turn. Obviously, I did the cav already. Here, Marmont turning around, heading back. Okay, I can do stuff like that. Mortier there, pressing a little bit closer. Like, I'm going to forget what the hell happened if I go through the fire. In fact, I may go to take a nap before I do the fire. I don't know how much time I got. Up here, Kellerman not doing much, shifting his forces, getting his guns into a line there. Oudinot pushing harder against the remnants of the Russian, of the combined guard that was up here. Augureau beginning to push against the flank here. Larson going forward along with Victor. And Victor, of course, is chasing mainly the Austrian remnants that are back here. All right. What else? A little router. MacDonald on his merry way. That's some of Poniatowski running the other way. Up here, I've issued different orders to Suham. The guard looks like it's in too much of a rough case, so I'm giving orders to try to hold and defend the Lindenau region. And I basically am giving that up to the line. Obviously, the guards had orders to defend, and they've pushed further forward, so I don't know. But I just don't see that initial plan of sweeping around through here as making any sense. The guard has shifted over. That's going to be another turn delay, but that's okay. Suham could use the rest. He's okay now. Sebastiani is doing butt kiss, but some of his formerly routed units are moving up. That's an Augureau unit there, an infantry that made a long run back and is now saying, you want me to go back where? Trying to dress this line a little bit, but you can see a gap occurred in it already. And what the hell? These are Suham, so they cannot move because I did the rest. And now I'm on the firing phase, and I'm not really looking forward to that at all. It's just, I don't know. Everything, I'm still enjoying and still excited and all that, but each turn just takes so much out of me. And tweezers, why do I have to move them? Well, they're keeping my place on the board. Knowing that I'm completely at the beginning of a phase is important because I might have to leave halfway through, firing or something like that. And looks like 3 main battles. This one, yeah, there's a divide, but it's all pretty much of a piece. And this one down here in Lindenau, and then the one up near Leipzig. And finished up that half turn in time that I get, before I have to go dancing. A little bit of weakness over there. And let's see. You can see blew a hole in the Austrian part of the line over here. Other units having trouble. For the most part, the French holding steady there. There wasn't a lot of engagement here. Kellerman's charge took out the guns and blasted the cav back. So that was pretty damn successful with no losses at that. All very good. Over here, the advances put some threat on. I don't see a whole hell of a lot. This got thrown back, and a gun got knocked out, but that's about it. The death piles, you can see, sure, the French are still causing more deaths total. I don't know, I think their rate of destruction of units has gone down, like they were well over 2 to 1. I feel like there was a time where they were over 2 to 1. Or right around that, and now it's closer to 3 to 2. They're probably a little better than that, but yeah. Alrighty, here in the failing light of the day, having gotten up at 2, sometime around 5, I made an earlier attempt to play this, but decided, I should go do a little bit of yard work or something, because I decided against going shopping. It was too late in the day, and I was feeling still fatigued and everything. I felt, I don't know, mentally a little more awake than usual, and a little more activated. But I went outside, pulled a few weeds, and did a couple of other things. Planted a couple of trees, actually, tiny, tiny ones that were growing in the wrong place, and they usually die on me, but whatever. And I was just so fucking fatigued after, like, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes of relatively light work, very light work, that I thought, playing the game is going to be just as fatiguing as this. It really, I have to pull a little bit of strength and whatever that I don't have in this. And then I just kind of fell into, well, let's eat some chili, and I kind of took a nap. Well, took one, snoozed a little bit. But now, with what little light's left, I'm like, oh, fuck it, I gotta get a little bit of this in. So, again, we're starting at the beginning, just the charge phase here, because it's kind of important, and I will not be able to recall everything at the end of the half turn. So, we actually have charges against French Cav. One got repulsed by a counter charge, but here I'm able to come in not through the front hexes and get some attacks in there, and that looks promising. And then over here we got a couple of the guard cav that found themselves infantry that couldn't form square, and that looks promising. So I think that's the only charges we got coming. Those get resolved way at the end of the turn, which is fine. But yeah, it's going to be an intriguing result, I think. Continue on. I'm always wondering why I have that extra counter tray there. I've got some fatigue markers, number markers in it. But, unless it's just movement, and that's what it was originally, why I originally put it there. But I really need all kinds of markers, and there aren't enough for me to create like 2 full trays that could work everywhere or whatever, so that I don't have to walk back and forth and get this one. I mean, there's a couple of units that are still using that, but I think I ought to retire it. But what I wanted to point to was an interesting little situation down here where Liechtenstein, I don't know, for some reason moved this infantry instead of himself. I don't remember where it was. Let's say it was with him. That wouldn't be an unreasonable place for it. Wanted to go down and rally this unit, which I can, but we've hit a problem. We're already up to turn 3. This was 9 turns ago this thing got disorganized. That doesn't usually happen in this game. If I see something like that, no, this isn't one of those, I usually say, I must have something screwed up or whatever. But in this case, I think that's actually the reality. 9 turns ago, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, was around 8 o'clock in the morning. I've had, a couple hours to advance, get hit, and then certainly tons of time to have fallen back to here. And I think he's just failed morale checks, because Liechtenstein's morale is that bad at this point. So we'll get him down there. But what I may want to do is replace that with one of these. This doesn't really do any harm except in terms of, there, I did it again. In terms of the story, how am I doing that? In terms of the story, it doesn't really impact much. Other than in terms of the story, it doesn't really impact anything. It is kind of nice to know that something was that, has been out for that long, and it really is the case, but I'm too likely. There's no way, like next turn, that becomes a valid number marker out there, and if it was a routed unit, well, it would have made it off the map by now. But if it was a routed unit, that would be valid out to a 5 right now. So, ouch. My fatigue is not merely physical here. What I wanted to say was also that, you don't see this in the smaller battles usually. That many failures would get you off the map in most games. Although, I guess if I was all the way at one end of the map and my exit route was all the way at the other, great. But yeah, this is something that's peculiar to something this size. And it could go a lot longer, If French units here have that kind of failure all the way back to wherever the hell they're supposed to enter, which I'm guessing is 1, 2, those 3 roads. There may be more though, who knows? That's the end of movement. One thing I noted, Kellerman pushed across the stream, and I kind of didn't realize that. But the cav that was there couldn't charge. It wasn't facing in the right direction. This was just such an unexpected attack. So I'm leaving these guys, the disordered units there. First of all, they get to fire. One of them gets to fire at Kellerman. Secondly, if I move him, he gets to countercharge them. And these can provide maybe some sort of defense. I don't think so, but it doesn't look likely. But otherwise, these guys provided, the charges that are going here, provided nice cover for the rest of that guard corps pulling out, although I did lose an artillery here. I knew I would lose it. But I would have lost it to fire that turn. The only thing is, by leaving it there, which I did last turn or whatever, it got a chance to fire back, and it might have if it had been missed here. But if it got missed and got away, that would be even better. However, yeah, this is just infantry firing at it, so getting away is a possibility. Getting away from artillery is hard. Which is the situation there. Those Austrians, I don't see a reason to run them off the map, at least. So running them off the map gives me flexibility because I can make up rules about, hey, they transfer down to Borna or whatever, which is get around this problem of the Universitäts halts, which is like screwing them so badly in terms of dividing their force. The whole army of Bohemia is organized in the wrong places now because it comes in separate sections that are hard to get to, which has allowed the French to do, in a microcosm, what they're doing overall, which is focus on one of those forces and defeat it in detail. This area is going to be interesting because the Prussians are... the town is invulnerable, but also not terribly valuable. The only thing it's not invulnerable to is if I march into it and start meleeing things, which, if all support is gone, is a viable option, but right now is not sensible. Like, doing street-to-street fighting doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. But on the other hand, invulnerable it may be, but it's not beneficial. The units that are in it are just waiting to get killed or to win in that street-to-street fighting. But yeah, with Suham down there, there's going to be a big fight, and we've extended the Prussian line down here. Gulai rolled for initiative and got it. He's going to try to swing his axis of attack through Plagwitz area and try to put pressure on the French from there, because I'm in no condition. The Prussian troops are a lot stronger. There's not a lot of space. I have a lot of frontage that I can cover with that unit, and there's just not room to start throwing Austrians in there too. But this turn we rested them a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Up there, the fight's beginning to develop. The Cav tying them down with the charges is allowing my units to push through and get up to the front. However, that could be very, very bad if I don't win the cav battle, and I don't think I can. Latour or whoever it is, I can't remember who he is. He outnumbers the Russian cav from the 2 columns that I've got there. He's a real cav unit. The only things there are no real cav units in the coalition army, which causes issues because remember, real cav units, like cavalry attached to regular units by the current rules, well, by the fatigue rules, doesn't count against fatigue, but there's nothing that prevents cav and artillery from fatiguing cav commands. Well, so the fact that like the integrated guards here and the Austrian reserves are heavy on cavalry, and for that matter, Liechtenstein's lights are heavy on cavalry, means that they can operate sort of like a cav command and just move their infantry slowly behind and never get fatigued. And to me, that there's just something problematic with the way the fatigue rules apply by the Corps. It really should apply by unit, but that would be a nightmare. I'm too damn fatigued myself to do the fire combat at this point. So, and since I've lost whatever light is of value from outside, I figure I can take a break. Well, forced myself to take care of the fire, the melee, whatnot, and I'm gonna close this so it doesn't confuse me. The cav over here, with positional advantages and everything, still failed to kind of do anything to the French cav, and this is a bad sign. I was hoping those positional advantages would give me a big edge, but now I'm exposing flanks, and we're going to see the kind of swirling cav fight that led me to be excited about the musket and pike series. It happens here too, when you have enough of them. The push here, well, we got a little bit running away. Coming over here, not much movement really. Some guns were paralyzed. Sebastiani had his horses shot out from under him. Rallying is not working at all for them. These guys did an extraordinary job. One of them ran into destroyed route. Both of them routed the unit they hit. One of them took out some guns as well that they were able to get a flanking fire on. Here we see, if I haven't mentioned it, that whole column of beaten up shit coming back from a couple days ago or whatever. And other than that, not much. Those guys are actually recovering strength points now. If Marmont's going to leave them alone, that's the main goal here. I want to get them off the map, but I want to do some recovery because the way I'm playing the off-map stuff, it's like, well, if you're marching around back there and all disorganized and like trying to reform the army, you're too far away to grab the stragglers at that point anymore, except the one, you know, for the night time, if applicable. I don't remember what my rules were for what makes it applicable. This may be the end of this video, more or less. I'm not sure. I have this Resistenza as a review copy, and I've kind of started the rules. If I don't know, I'm probably going to get some of this in tomorrow, but we're getting close to the end of this video because I want to take a break from this and go play that. I like to turn around my review games relatively quickly, and this is going to take a long time still. Breaking the game, each player turn into really 2 pieces. So, and reporting on all of them. Over here, the cav battle continues. We broke those guys, and launching an attack here and an attack on some limbered artillery. I didn't have quite enough movement points to hit the unlimbered guns. I probably would have rather done them, and then maybe a follow through on the limbered. But I can do it the other way as well. The only problem is these guns get a shot at that. Trying to stiffen the line there. Got Suham beginning to fill in up here. Things don't look pretty there, but I think we can kind of hold the line against the Prussians. Just like I think we can hold the line there against most of the army of Silesia, those two Russian corps. So I feel like this side of the map is, for the French, is their defensive positioning. Coming over here, we have Victor beginning to chase these Austrians off the board, get rid of them. Wow, I'm rather shocked that that wasn't successful. Is that possible? I don't know. I may have missed a rally check there. May have missed a bunch of them. Well, last turn was turn 3, so they wouldn't have gotten it for these. This guy, though. That says he rolled a 12, and I highly doubt that. So let me give him a shot to recover. It might have been 11 too, because they're worn out. Screw it. Okay. Over here, Lauriston and Auguero are pushing forward. There isn't much to resist them anymore. Udno, right? Yeah. Seizing the rest of the area. He's supposed to move from the crotch, straddling the stream up to Gruna. These guys might interfere with that. And then coming over here, Kellerman continuing to pick on some of the damaged cav. Poniatowski's sitting without orders, and I'm just going to leave him that way. He doesn't have much left. He's got units trying to make their way to join him, but there's just not, he just doesn't have enough force to be worth giving orders to. Instead, Napoleon's chasing down some routers, I guess. I don't know. He's never going to catch him. I don't know what he's up to. He might go talk to Marmont about the only uncommitted force that I have on the field right now. I want to keep him in the general area because I need some reactive capabilities down here. Mortier, more pressure on the Austrian reserves there, and those guys being ignored as Marmont pulls back. And then we'll do the firing and all the other subsequent actions at some point. Hey, I went shopping at least. I don't know, it was a sadder hike than usual for whatever reason. I feel like somehow the inevitable depression that strikes on Saturdays, I kind of evaded that yesterday. I know I didn't do much, but I evaded it. And then it sort of hit me today instead, for whatever reason. You can see that half turn pretty much blew me for the rest of the day in terms of, like, you can't see this. I was going to say something else, but after shopping, all the stretching and just, oh wow, I don't know. And light is getting lower. But you can see that the Hesse-Homburg forces have pretty much collapsed up in the north. I got a couple of cannons here, that's it. Kellerman, his cav sent the Imperial Guard cav that they charged, that was already disordered, into a rout, but not without cost, and he took casualties and is now facing heavier forces that he's probably not going to be happy. Nothing too exciting changed up here. I don't see too much having happened here. We traded some shots. I mean, you can see you've got like some Prussians falling back and whatnot. Also, what we're not noticing is the units that disappeared. So I know that some stuff vaporized in here, and I think maybe up there. I got this wonderful, wonderful unit which somehow stayed, this one, with its 1 firepower. And up here, the Cav attack pretty much failed, to tell you the truth. I think I caused a casualty, but I didn't want to stay there because all these guns could just unlimber and screw me over. Of course, I could blow if they tried doing that, but I would not get a countercharge on them in that case. However, I think we are largely winning the Cav battle here. The only question is whether the artillery can drive us away. And I forgot somebody up there. They too are gone, and rather than, I could have charged those guns and blown back or whatever. Rather than doing that, I'm going to hold where I am. In part because my intention is to hold things in place here. If I had orders to advance or something, or saw this as an offensive opportunity, plowing through, taking those guns, it would be a Kellerman-like action over on the other side of the board, where it's like, yeah, what are you going to do about this now? I'd probably have to blow them to get them out of there. But it would take a significant hunk of the Russian line out of the way in the long term to take those guns out, but because there's nothing defending them, so I would just be allowed to smash into them and destroy them. But I would end up without, the Cav would be back here but disordered, which means it would be fairly easy to force them to pay a penalty, and right now they're kind of a threat towards anything trying to cross that stream. There's no artillery up in the front, so it's kind of a nice situation for the French to leave that where it is. But you could call that how you like. Anyway, that's the end of the French side of what, the 1 o'clock turn? 1:30 turn. Boy. I mean, really. This is... the fact that I look at this and I'm like, oh shit, I'm not halfway done with the game yet. And there's still a whole bunch of troops, all coalition, but a whole bunch coming in. However, Army of Bohemia is in really, really iffy shape. Army of Silesia is not doing that much impressive. They're on the offensive against forces that are maybe about equivalent on reasonable terrain, and they're not going to get much out of that, which then puts it to the Army of the North and the Army of Poland, whatever that's worth. But the question is, how badly beaten will Napoleon's forces be come tomorrow before, when more forces start coming in again? All right. Top of the, 1:30 turn. I had to run away and do something, but had a couple of Cav activities here. Russians launching an attack here against the flank, which there's not much you can do about that. When, like I said, when it becomes swirling Cav battles, stuff like that starts happening. And I don't know. I mean, certainly Cav can get hit in the flank, but it may happen more often than it should. But you're definitely not, if you're wheeling around to face the enemy, you're definitely not charging them. So, but ratings are reduced and whatnot in this. We had some more going on here. Yeah. So the Russian guard here bounced off Kellerman with basically no effect. But then I pulled some Prussians around to hit him. And again, that's coming from the flank or rear. Although I'm going to take some fire from that, and that could, of course, disrupt me because I'm taking that in my flank. Came to another problem, and I tried to do what I could with fixing the loss charts. I don't know what this is, and I'm not going to go look it up. I was going to launch melee attacks here and here. This is a big fatigue cost. One of the few times where I decided it's worth it because, the guard units, yeah, they're better than normal units for the most part, but maybe not that much. So like this one only has a 3 melee value times whatever its size is. Now, it happened to be a big unit. It's a 7 originally. I don't know what it is now. It turns out it's a 6 after looking it up. Stuff that should be pretty apparent to the forces on the field. How many guys am I facing, right? Maybe not their quality, which is absolutely clear, but how many are there? But I looked at this and I'm like, well, I got a big unit here and another unit, and my multiplier on the big unit is a 3 as well, which is pretty impressive. They're Jaegers though, but well, when I went and looked them up, they're a 2-size Jaeger unit with a point against them. I don't know which value is right, which is not. I'm not going to look it up, but Jaegers probably are not a big, huge unit. It has the extended fire value, which means nothing to me because I can throw so many skirmishers out. Who cares? Like, yeah, there's some slight advantages to having those. I can throw them out to the side or whatever, but I hardly ever notice. But yeah, I thought I might have the advantage because I didn't even look at the size of this thing. I just assumed it was small because old guard tend to be. This one's not. And then the other thing was I was going to be able to rush into this cannon, and maybe there was something that I could attack here. I don't think so. Boy, this poor cannon, I could go charge that with the French. But yeah, there's just nothing that was right out in the open that made it clear that this was a horrible idea. But then when I looked in the charts, it really was. I'll be back in a little bit to give the overall for what's going. And this is the last video for this series, for this sequence. So up here, Cav battle continued. Theoretically, the Russians won it, but they took a casualty. They broke 2 French units, plowing into the second one and routing it. But yeah, they took a casualty. That leads to one of the weird things, and I'm pretty sure I've discussed this before in the system, which is that the melee table can cause casualties for one person and disorders for the weaker person. And those disorders don't come with an automatic loss unless you're hitting infantry with cav. Infantry that's not in square with cav. Which means that quite often the cav will hit cav, it'll scare the enemy away, but take more losses. And that can give you a localized temporal advantage, right? But overall, in the course of the battle, probably the casualty is a more important thing. Now remember, that also is just a temporal thing as long as you don't lose the unit if you're playing with the recovering troops rule. In a campaign this big, with several days, you can very easily recover your losses. But on the other hand, if you look at some of the other battles I've played, some of the smaller ones, driving someone off the field, well, routing someone especially, but driving someone, out of combat for a little while until they have to reorganize or whatever. it can be more effective than the strength point that you lose. So it's hard to tell there. In terms of the infantry, I kind of screwed up down here. I moved these infantry forward, forgot that there was cav there, did all the defensive fire, and then went back to the offensive fire. I'm like, oh shit, that's a cav unit there, isn't it? Not just an infantry. It's the size of the game, not being able to focus in enough on, whatever particular section I'm looking at, plus doing other things in between, mainly running scans. And there's, it's very easy to lose track of what I'm doing. In this case, I allowed the French to have their countercharge against the Russians. The Russians probably wouldn't have advanced. It worked out all well for them. They basically busted the French cav charge. I think they may have taken a casualty on it, but both sides did or something. So it was not a bad result at all for the Russian infantry in line. I don't know. All I know, it may have been a 0 star or a 0 star 0 result, which broke the cav. But whatever happened, happened. I don't care. Over here, yeah, this is just another royal mess. And it's the way that I'm interpreting the cities and the defensive value of them makes it particularly so, because I could launch attacks around the corner and melee that way or something, or melee from city to city hex. But I am not doing anything over them walls, that's for sure. In either direction. Both sides are really kind of stuck where they are. And yeah, if you think about it, that kind of makes sense. The one thing that doesn't feel like it makes a lot of sense is the firepower being so interdicted by them. But it does if the troops can't climb up on the walls. If those walls are so ill-repaired that you can't really form up real units there. So if you just have a couple snipers there. However, if you're talking about anything like the level of skirmisher firepower or whatever being up on those walls, they should be able to get a minimum of a 1-point shot coming out. And they don't. They have a 1-point shot coming from the city because of the terrain effect chart. -2 levels for the wall means they cannot, no unit can fire out of the walled encampments. Big artillery units can at least fire in. Artillery can't be unlimbered in the towns, if I'm right. I don't know. I did it in one of my games, so who the hell knows? Artillery must be limbered or disorganized, yeah. So again, you can't put the guns on the walls. Oh, what do we got here? I hope those are French and not Austrians. I know I had some Austrians running around up there. Over here, largely, these forces have disengaged, and new orders were given to Kleist, plus he rested a little bit, as Wittgenstein moves it into position. The hole here is huge. Kellerman got repulsed by those cav. Nobody recovered there. We're going into 2 o'clock, and we're taking a break here from this game. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I can think of 3 different options. The reason we're taking a break is I've got this thing that I'm fiddling around with right now. I want to be able to fiddle with it some more. It's a review copy, and then I want to be able to film it. My 3 options. I don't want to use this camera on both games. That'll confuse me. This game has certain advantage. There's certain reasons I want to play this during daytime hours. And I kind of like, well, you can play that thing at night and this during the day. If I do that, I may switch to the more yellow camera for a while on this. I don't tend to spend a whole hell of a lot of time on camera with this, so I won't need the battery swaps or anything like that at this point in the game. Another possible option is that I just don't play it for a few days. I think that's probably the worst option. And then the final one is, I can play it and not video it because you're not going to miss much, right? I kind of don't like that either, but it makes life easier on me. But I'm leaning more towards the give you a nice yellow video of this with the crappy camera that may end up skipping shit anyway. And then we'll be using that for a while. So that's what's going on there.